You can take a Lego set that's kind of like a diorama, and it's static; it doesn't move.
Yeah.
But if you go to like the Lego shows or the Lego conventions or a Lego workshop, and something's moving, your eyeballs and your attention goes towards that.
Yeah.
And so doing something with motion or movement is awesome to I guess grasp the kids' attention and get them involved.
Well, it kind of just reminds me. I mean, like the game, like Mousetrap, and just kind of the scaling it to these other types of things, and that complete freedom though to completely design however you want to build the mechanism to make it move. I mean, that's where the real beauty of this is. Since I was looking at all these thinking, these are incredible, but really, you could give a kid basically a base plate to here are pieces, and you got to be, that specification of, like the 10 by 10 type concept. You got to be able to get the balls up to this level for your partner. Yeah. I think kids would just eat that up. And there's just a ton of thinking that has to go into that, But
the basic foundation is the 10 by 10 by 10, 10 wide, 10 cross, and 10 up. But then in between, it's wherever your creativity, wherever your ideas go from there, and you can run with it. From the belt to the clip arms to the clips over here that rotate to the lifting mechanism and then the pump mechanism. And those are just some of the examples. And if you look at some of the models that they have online, it's amazing. We were talking a little bit earlier about the EV3 and the train concept. And just wherever you want to go with it, you can run as far as you possibly want to with it. But the only criteria is so that way they can work together is the 10 by 10 by 10.
Yeah.
It opens the window up.
No, that's incredible. All right. So Jeff, why don't we start off and why don't we explain, not we explain, but why don't you tell everybody kind of who you are and what you're doing a little bit with your Lego background. I know you and I have had some conversations over the last year or so, but as we dive into this great ball contraption, it's always good for people to hear other voices and know that we're not alone in these endeavors. And you were kind enough, for those that don't know, you were kind enough to drop off some incredible things that people are checking out here in the video while this plays of these different contraptions and things, and you do a ton with Lego. So why don't you explain a little bit your backstory and kind of your, I don't know, call it a fascination or a love, or maybe a combination of both for Lego.
Sure. My name is Jeff Milne. I live here in Bettendorf, Iowa. I was away on a business trip a couple years ago and came back from that trip, and I was gone for an extended period of time, but finding ways to reconnect with my kids and reintroduce me back into the house after being gone for a while, and found that play was an awesome way, getting on the floor and sitting on the floor with the kids and engaging with them after being away for a little bit, and then finding ways to incorporate play throughout our lives and through their education and learning process. And so the thing that we found that we all enjoyed, both my son, my daughter, and myself, was Lego, and incorporating Lego into different activities. And we found ourselves on trips, ended up going to different Lego stores and seeing what they have in their pick-a-brick walls and just get some random pieces to grow our stuff. But then it was, okay, now we're having fun doing this as a family. How can I share this with my community as well, the city I live in? And so reached out to the Parks Department and created a little Lego Play program with them, got that going and off the ground. And then it was the kids are getting older and going to school, and it's like incorporating different ways we can put play into the classroom and creative thinking and critical thinking in the classroom, and incorporating and working with the teachers in the classroom, and they were excited to kind of something different from the regular curriculum, and as a way to learn. And we talked a little bit about First Lego League Junior, and it wasn't just Lego, but it was space exploration and exploring and the scientific and engineering aspect of that. And just this past year, we did the First Lego League Junior Mission Moon Challenge with First Lego League Junior, and it was awesome sharing Lego in the classroom with them and incorporating that.
Okay, so you mentioned critical thinking, and so where we are, we're looking at these great ball contraptions here that Jeff has been kind enough to kind of send my way. So why don't you talk a little bit about kind of what these are, and just some kind of the overview of these, so people who are looking at this for the first time going, oh my gosh, what in the world am I looking at here? Like, what is it? And also to help people realize, yes, it is challenging. It definitely hits on that critical thinking, but these builds are also not impossible with just a little bit of patience and learning on our end.
Yeah, first I want to give some credit to Brick World. You can find their website, and then also give some credit to Great Ball Contraption. You can Google search that, and they have instructions online for these kits and some of the other kits or some of the modules. And modules is what we call these. On their website, you can download the instructions and source the parts if you want to. The only rule that they kind of like, it's open to however you want to do it, really, but they're trying to get the community that's building these to be able to make them work together. In order to do that, they have to have a similar starting and ending point, and their rule is 10 bricks wide and 10 bricks high, so a 10 by 10 square. And so when a ball starts off, it'll enter into that little cup, that 10 by 10 cup, and then it has to move from that point to the next module. So anybody could build a module in any way, shape, or form. Would just hopefully you'd stick to that criteria. That way you can put the modules together. But there's no limitation to how that ball gets from one point to the other. There's several different examples that I brought in, and again, these are the ones from that we did at the Brick World workshops. And the ones that you do on your own are not going to be, I guess, this maybe not this sturdy or this complete, but that's part of the tinkering and the problem solving and trying to figure it out. These are just starting points, and it's great to have the instructions for a starting point, and then you can just expand and explore from there, and you're not limited to just the examples that are here. Wherever your creativity can go is where you can go with a great ball contraption module.
Yeah, and so so someone that's checking this out and listening in, and even though this might be maybe many levels into maybe where they are in their own comfort zones, but as you've had a chance to go to the workshops and do these types of builds as well as other builds, not just with the Great Ball Contraption itself, like what's a good place to kind of get started? So say someone's looking at this and they're fascinated, they want to get started, maybe kind of dabble with it. Maybe they don't have the confidence in themselves, or maybe they just don't quite have the building skills yet. Those are all to come. I mean, as we all know, once we just dive in and start building and playing, those skills kind of naturally develop. But someone that's checking this stuff out going, it's awesome, I have some free time on my hands and I want to start to figure this out. Like, what do you recommend they do for that starting point?
I think the starting point would be is, what do you want your module mechanism to be? The requirement is that 10 by 10, so don't get caught up on that. But it's like, how much space do you want to cover from front to back, or what elevation do you want to go up, and then how do you want to get there? You just look at the world around you in different ways things move, and see if you can incorporate that in there into your idea. Whether it's a natural thing, whether it's a man-made construction, or just you have a crazy idea that is just out there that's not something you see in the world, and you just want to see if you can build out a Lego, and you just run with that. So just start tinkering with your idea, start pulling some pieces together, and don't be afraid to fail. And there's a lot of my own personal modules have been that way, where it's just like trial and error, a lot of trial and error. And that's my building, but it's fun to see my own kids looking over my shoulder what I'm doing and like making their recommendations, and then when they're building their own, I get to do the same with them. And so it's just neat just to tinker and see how much interest happens around you on what you're tinkering on. Yeah,
and maybe even if people are going, this is way out of my league. I know that you do a lot of community outreach and try to get into the classrooms, as you mentioned earlier. And so what are maybe some other activities that maybe may not be as complex, but are still just as fundamental to learning when we think about critical thinking and creativity, for someone that maybe could look, if they're looking for an entry point into the classroom with kids, and maybe they don't have someone like you that can come in and kind of create that spark and kind of model with the teacher. Do you have any like ideas or lessons that you use when you're working, and you can pick a grade level? I know it all kind of depends and floats that maybe this great ball contraption is way too much, but we can still get this same kind of thinking and problem solving in the classroom.
Well, I don't work for Lego by any means, and I don't work for any companies. It's just a personal interest.
Right.
But I say that because 2 years ago, one of the local cities here asked me to help put together a Lego camp for them, and they wanted to be very simple. And I share that because what I found was there's a book company called Klutz, Klutz, and they have, I think, 3 different books now. In their very first one, Crazy Action Contraptions, it has all the elements included in it, and it has, I think it's like 17 or 20 different little build ideas, from a rubber band powered car to other little contraptions that you can build in there. And that is a really, really simple, and it's like $20. It's not real expensive, but it has all the elements and instructions. To me, that was a great starting point. If I would have thought about it, I would have brought a copy of the book in and showed that to you. Because I like sharing that when we have for birthday presents. It's like, hey, this is something that we share with other kids that we know.
No, that's great. Yeah, we'll definitely put the link to the show note. It's funny because I actually just ordered a couple of those books this morning on Amazon. So it's so funny as you're sitting there talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I literally just proceeded to check out that book this morning as well. So we'll definitely get that linked in there. So Jeff, this has been great. We'll get the links to the show notes. And once again, we're just trying to find stories and finding more and more amazing people as we start in this course of showcasing that with Lego, with play, we can really elevate the learning and engagement with so many kids. And I know one of the things that we talked about before we hit record that Jeff was talking about, even with this great ball contraption or any kind of thing that you're building, anytime we can get movement and things, mechanisms working or lights to light up, we have their interest, and there's our entry point to really kind of take their learning to the next level. As soon as that light bulb goes off of how does that work, or I want to do that, we know we have them. And so thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for inviting me out. It's fun sharing my Lego hobby with more than just my family.
yeah. And there's good thing there's plenty of us out there that we can all connect and share. So thank you.
Thanks.